Hello Year 5 and welcome to our latest computing lesson. We are going to continue to look at learning to code, and today we're going to do a little recap of some stuff that we did last week. But we are mainly going to be focusing on debugging. So we're going to focus on this and I'm going to give you an activity, and then if you want to do more after that, I'll let you know how you can do that. So our first question today is, what is debugging? So think about your coding. You did that last week, your set of instructions, script of instructions to tell your computer program to do something. What do you think debugging might be to do with that? So have a little think, pause the video and then restart it to find out if you're not sure or to see if you are correct. Okay, so debugging is the process of identifying and removing errors from computer hardware or software. So basically it's finding mistakes and fixing them. So with that in mind, using the game that we looked at last week, I'm going to ask you if you can debug some of the code that I made to see why it isn't working. Okay, so your task here was setting visuals. So try and set a random scene when other events happen. For example, when passing an obstacle. So here we have the code that my game was using. So when run, set normal speed normal, when click, flap and normal amount, what happens when you hit the ground, what happens when you hit an obstacle, and what happens when you pass an obstacle. So can you look at my code here and figure out what I have done wrong to get it to do this, and then can you suggest a way of fixing it? If you do that, you will have successfully debugged my code. So pause the video, have a look at that code. How can you correct it to make it do what you've been asked to do? Right, here is another bit. So this is just something that I had a little play with. So ignore the instructions here. So imagine this is your normal game. Can you spot what might go wrong with this game that might make it a little bit silly? So have a look through the code. What happens when you run the game? What happens when you click? What happens when you hit the ground? What happens when you hit an obstacle? What happens when you pass an obstacle? What have I done that would mean this game's a little bit silly and make it so it doesn't run properly? So pause the video, debug this code. What's wrong with it? How can you suggest a way of fixing it so it runs in the way that it should do? Then, so for this one and the last one we looked at, if you just let me know in the editable document what you think the error was and how you could solve it. Right, so today's task, we're going to move on, is once again using the fantastic hour of code. I'm going to ask you to visit Coding Town. Some of you might have done this before, some of you might not, but it's a really interesting way of learning code. So you've got your own little character that you move around this world, and you'll set different tasks, and the idea is to build a business and to learn how to code in this setting. So if you follow the link, this link will also be underneath the task in Teams. I will put it underneath the YouTube video as well, so you can follow that link and then have a go at this activity. So follow the instructions. Be careful though, because it's easy to do things you don't want to do. So when I had a go at it yesterday, I found myself accidentally deleting bits of floor, which meant that I fell through, which isn't really the idea of the game. So be careful when you're trying things, but at the same time, have a go, see what different things do, see how you move around. You could be given instructions for that and see what happens when you do different things. So you might want to just run around and try clicking different things to find out what happens. You can undo them if that's not possible, if you have to restart. So have a go at that. Let us know how you get on. Okay, so if you finish that and you want to learn more, you could try coding your own racing game. And with that, if you follow this link here, once again, I'll put that in with a task on Teams, then you can do that. If that doesn't sound like something that you fancy doing and you'd like to try a different bit of coding to improve your skills, I would suggest what I did last week. So head over to the Hour of Code website and choose a game that you would like to learn how to code. There are lots of different levels of coding on there, so you could look at really basic coding if you're finding it quite difficult, which will give you more advice, or you could look at some more difficult stuff where you're going to have to problem solve and use your logic in different ways to create some successful code and make the games work properly. So if you look at different levels, choose one that you think is appropriate for you. If it's too easy, go up. If it's too hard, go down. If it's perfect, then just carry on. So let us know how you get on with your coding today. Thank you very much for listening.